In this series, we'll explore the backstory of Warcraft, starting from the first Warcraft games right through to WoW. In 1994, the Warcraft universe was born. The first game to be released was called Warcraft: Orcs vs Humans, and with it came the First War. To cut a long story short, a dark portal to another world was opened, and orcs came flooding into the world of Azeroth. They burned the human capital of Stormwind, and the human refugees fled across the sea.
It's an oversimplification of events, but yes.
Now let's dig into some details. A magician called Medivh opened the portal to the orcs' homeworld.
Now, Gul'dan's horde will sweep across this world.
On this other world, a race of orcs were fleeing their dying homeworld. Now this guy here is called Gul'dan, and he's a really powerful orc warlock. Now Gul'dan is a pretty important guy, and we'll be talking about him quite a bit through this series. Anyway, Gul'dan led an army of orcs through the dark portal. These orcs ravaged the human lands. They destroyed human settlements as they went, and eventually they burned the city-nation of Stormwind to the ground. The survivors of Stormwind fled across the Great Sea to the kingdom of Lordaeron. And that really is the story of Warcraft 1. A few years later, Warcraft 2 was released, and we met Ogrim Doomhammer, the war chief of the Orcish Horde. Doomhammer feared that the humans would regroup and retaliate, so Doomhammer decided to take the fight to the humans, and thus began the Second War. Doomhammer's army invaded the lands of the dwarves and the gnomes, pushing them back into their capital cities of Numeragon and Ironforge. Unable to take these cities, Doomhammer just pushed on to the wetlands. In the wetlands, the Horde enslaved red dragons, bolstering their army. Then Doomhammer led the Horde over the sea to lay siege to the kingdom of Lordaeron.
The orcs constructed ships of war to bear them across the Great Sea.
Meanwhile, the survivors of Stormwind banded together with the other human kingdoms. Lordaeron, Kul'Tiraz, Gilneas, Stromgarde and Ultrak banded together to form the Alliance of Lordaeron. General Turalyon rallied the human kingdoms. Elven rangers led by Illyria Windrunner came from the Elven kingdom of Quel'Thalas. From the magic city of Dalaran came Archmage Khadgar with powerful mages. Turalyon, Illyria and Khadgar are all very important characters, and we're going to talk a bit about them later on. Doomhammer's forces were no match against the combined might of the newly formed alliance. Doomhammer retreated to the hinterlands. In the hinterlands, Doomhammer encountered the Amani trolls, who offered to help fight the humans, but only if the orcs first helped them to destroy the high elves of Quel'Thalas. So together they marched north to take on the elves. This probably wasn't a good strategic move because the alliance forces were right on their rear. Sylvanas Windrunner, the Ranger General of Silvermoon, led the elven defense. The High Elves retreated into Silvermoon and they shielded their city. To do this, they drew upon the power of the Sunwell, which is a well of limitless magical energy. So, Doomhammer was unable to take the city, and he led what remained of his forces in one last attempt against Lordaeron. Now, remember Gul'dan, the powerful warlock who initially opened the Dark Portal? Well, he was supposed to help destroy Lordaeron, but instead he went off on a journey searching for powerful artifacts and, well, died.
I am dying.
Now, because Gul'dan was so powerful, his actual skull became a powerful demonic artifact. So there you go. Anyway, the Alliance forces soon caught up with Doomhammer, and before long the Horde were in full retreat. It was here that the dwarves and the gnomes joined the Alliance and helped to push the Horde out of their lands. Eventually, the orcs retreated back through the Dark Portal to their homeland, and Archmage Khadgar whipped out his staff and destroyed the Dark Portal. And that was the end of the Second War. So Stormwind City was rebuilt, and Netherguard Keep was constructed to allow Khadgar and his mages to monitor the Dark Portal, just in case it ever opened again. The orcs who didn't manage to escape through the Dark Portal were hunted down and placed into internment camps. On the orcs' homeworld, a bloke called Ner'zhul was the war chief of the Horde. Now the orcs' homeworld was dying. It was not a good place to live. So Ner'zhul had a plan to open new portals to new worlds for the orcs to conquer. But to open these portals, Ner'zhul first needed to get his hands on some artifacts. One of these artifacts was the Skull of Gul'dan, but it was back on Azeroth. So Ner'zhul reopened the Dark Portal, and a team of orcs went to Azeroth to gather those artifacts. And this is where the events of the expansion take place. Archmage Khadgar was at Netherguard Keep, where he was waiting for this day to come. So a crack team was assembled to venture through the Dark Portal and end the orcish threat for good. The expedition was led by General Turalyon. Archmage Khadgar, of course, went along as well, as did Illyria Windrunner with some of her elves. The expedition was a success, and the orcs on Draenor fell to the expedition forces. However, the expedition was too slow, and Ner'zhul had already used the artifacts to escape to another world. The powers required to open this portal tore apart the world of Draenor, shattering the world and turning it into Outland as we know it today.
The Horde's reckless sorcery tore the planet apart.
This shattered world is called Outland. It is all that remains of Draenor.
Khadgar seized the Skull of Gul'dan and used its power to close the Dark Portal. This left the expedition stranded on Outland forever. Following this, the Valley of Heroes was built in Stormwind City, and statues were erected for those stranded on Outland, presumed to be dead. This included Khadgar, Illyria, Turalyon, as well as a couple of others. Now it's probably a good time to explain that the orc invasions up until this point had all been orchestrated by demons. An army of demons known as the Burning Legion wished to wipe out all life on Azeroth. Medivh and Gul'dan opened the original portal under demonic influence. Now when Ner'zhul attempted to flee the planet of Draenor, he was captured by a demon lord. He was tortured and had his spirit bound to a suit of armour. This armour was imprisoned in a block of ice and was sent to Azeroth. Ner'zhul became the Lich King, and was tasked with summoning a powerful demon lord into Azeroth. And this brings us to Warcraft 3, as we continue our journey from Warcraft to WoW. Next time we'll cover the stories of Thrall, Arthas, Illidan, Jaina, Kael'thas, Sylvanas and others. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one.